Welcome to another edition of Dallas Social Distancing Toastmasters. Glad that all of you are here tonight. I will be your Zoom facilitator for the evening, which means I'm going to go over some ground rules, as well as also tell you that if you have any issues or questions, you can shoot me a private chat. The gentleman over here, I think maybe he's not over here for you, but Mark Schroeder is going to be my backup, so he will be the assistant Zoom facilitator. You can also reach out to him if you don't get a reply from me. You're welcome to shoot messages through WhatsApp or text us, either way, but private chat is probably the quickest way, and then probably text and WhatsApp. For our meetings in general, if you don't know, this is our way of applauding. Mostly because we have everybody on mute, and probably the noise from all the clapping would be a little bit discombobulating. Also, if you are speaking, make sure that you come off mute before you start to speak. When you're finished speaking, put yourself back on mute. This will help to minimize distractions like cats meowing in the background. And you will also need to remember to pin your timer, and that will be yours truly. So if you don't know how to pin your timer, please shoot your hand up and I can go over a quick explanation of how you pin somebody. If not, then I will move on. I see no hands, therefore I will move on. I will now go ahead and share my screen and show you where you can find our agenda for the evening. And that would be at our website, which is DallasSocialToastmasters.com. And you'll see over in the right-hand column, a member section. And then the first thing listed there under the member section after the paragraph is current agenda. If you click on that, that will bring up the agenda for the evening, which will give you all the information. You can follow along with that. Keep it up, whatever you need to do in order to follow along with the meeting as it goes along. But again, that's at Dallas Social Toastmasters under the members section, current agenda. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing at this point. And I'm going to do one thing before I pass the meeting over to our club president, and I'm going to ask you to join me if you are so inclined to join me for the, over here, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that being done, I'm going to hand the meeting over to our club president for a moment before he passes it to our Toastmaster. Please help me to welcome Club President Mark Sims.
Thank you, Rob, and welcome everyone. It's great to see a good turnout tonight. Not all, but most all of our members are here, including 2 new members, which is great. And look forward to a good meeting tonight. And at this point, we will pass it back over to our Toastmaster for tonight, Dagan Newland.
Right. Thank you, Mark. So I also want to point out too, I know when we're in person, we always say to keep your cell phones muted and things like that. So it's a good idea to do that while we're on Zoom as well, because when you are in a speaking position and when you're off mute, your phone could go off and cause a distraction too. Although it's really not as bad as if we were in person, but think about that. Put your phones on vibrate or mute or whatever. But today, my theme is be positive, stay positive. I just thought that'd be a good subject to talk about. If I stay positive, sometimes negativity in the world gets to people, and you got to try to bounce back from that and stay positive. But before we get into that, I would like to go over some changes on the agenda that's actually posted on the site. So the changes are: this vote counter is now going to be Tanya Howard. And I had the posture monitors open because Mark Shorter thought he may not could make the meeting, but since he is, he's going to be back on as posture monitor. So those are the changes on the agenda. So when it comes to positivity, we just gotta stay positive and think good thoughts, because you never know what's out there. People try to put you down and things like that. Well, for example, I started a YouTube channel like back in July of last year. I'm sometimes it get me a little down, because sometimes I go a long period of time of not getting subscribers, so it got me a little bit down, but it's something I like to do. So I try to think myself, be positive. It's something I really like to do. So I just continue on with it, and slowly, surely, I get more subscribers here and there. And actually, this week I just hit my main goal is to really get to 1,000. Now this week I just hit my halfway mark. I got 500. Actually, I got 504 subscribers now. So I'm actually going to do some doing some giveaways on a live stream for it's related to my channel, which is beard product reviews. But that just kept me going. I hit that 500 mark, and that I got this spark in me. Got me more going, and got me more positive about it. So continue on. So I actually want to also give some positive quotes here that I found and looked up. So more smiling, less worrying, more compassion, less judgment, and more blessed, less stress, more love, and less hate. So, that's basically just saying, always be positive. Try not to put the negativity out there. You never know who is. When you talk to somebody, you never know who might need that positivity. Somebody you're talking to or meet, they could be down in the dumps, and when you give them positivity, that could just lift their spirits. You don't never know what somebody's going through, at any particular time. Of course, your hardest times are often led to the greatest moments of your life. Keep going. Tough situations build strong people in the end. Great things happen to those who don't stop believing, trying, learning, and being grateful. The more you feed your mind with positive thoughts, the more you can attract great things into your life. So there's some really awesome, really quotes there, but we're going to get into more than that. But let's go ahead and get into our prepared speeches for today. And we got some awesome. Oh,
Duty holders.
Oh yeah. I completely forgot about the duty holders. Let's go to the duty holders real quick. Let's go to the first one on the list is timer Rob Giles. So Rob, can you please explain your role as timer?
Yes. As timer, Mr. Toastmaster, I am here to help out all speakers. That's prepared speeches, table topic speeches, and evaluations to help people to stay within the time frame that their objective is. When I'm doing that, I'm going to show a green card. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to pop up my background, but not at this very moment. So, but you'll see a background that comes up, and if I can get it going, but if I can't, you're going to see the green card come up at your minimum time, yellow card at in between your minimum and your maximum time, and then a red card at your maximum time. At that point, when you see the red, you are going to have 30 seconds to wrap up in order to qualify to win for whatever you're doing. And those things will take place for the prepared speeches. Both speeches, I believe, are 4 to 6 minutes. So that red card or the green card will come up at 4 minutes, yellow card at 5 minutes, and then the red card at 6 minutes. You can qualify if you go 30 seconds under that. Table topics, you must reach 1 minute, which is when the green card will show up. 1.5 minutes will show the yellow card. The red card will come out at 2 minutes. And again, you have 30 seconds. For evaluators, it's 2 to 3 minutes. You can qualify if you hit 1:30, but I will show the green at 2 minutes, show the yellow at 2.5 minutes, and the red at 3 minutes, in which case you have 30 seconds to wrap up in order to qualify. I will report the times for each of those things as called upon by the big three. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, Rob. And our next duty holder is actually doing double duty as grammarian and all counter, which is Cheryl. So Cheryl, can you please explain your role as grammarian and all counter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take note of any egregious misuses of the English language, as well as any luminous uses. As grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day. For today's meeting, the word is eudaimonic, which means pertaining or conducive to happiness. An example of using the word is adopting her best dog friend from the shelter led to a eudaimonic state of joy. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day, and in order to qualify for best table topic, you must use the word of the day in your response to the question. I will give a word of the day report when called upon at the end of the meeting. And as all counter, I will count the distracting words such as you know, and so, but, and other filler words or sounds. I will also keep track of the repeated words like the, and I, as well as long pauses if they are distracting. I'll also keep track of these for each person that speaks and give a report when called upon at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. My next duty holder is going to be the vote counter, Tanya Howard. So Tanya, can you please explain the role of vote counter?
Yes, thank you. As a vote counter, I will be counting the votes for the best speech, the best evaluation, best table topics, and the big three. And at the you'll send privately your votes to me, and at the end of the meeting, we will announce the winners. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, Tanya. Our last duty holder is the posture monitor. It's going to be Mark Schroeder. Mark, can you please explain the role of posture monitor?
Absolutely, Dagan. As posture monitor, my job is to look for both good and expressive postures that contribute to your message, as well as postures that take away from your message because they're distracting. Normally, we would be making noise during everything but the prepared speech to call your attention to it immediately. We're not going to be doing that just because Zoom is not conducive to doing that. But what I will do is make notes of everything and present a report at the end of what I noticed in the way of both good and distracting postures. Mr. Toastmaster?
All right, thank you, Mark. All right, so now we'll go ahead and get into the prepared speeches of today. And we got two new members that are both giving their icebreaker speeches, so that's pretty awesome. And our first speaker that's up on the list is Justin Faust, and his evaluator is going to be John Vessel. So John, can you please explain how you're going to evaluate?
Actually, I have Dylan. Karen Lee has Justin.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got backwards on here. So Karen, can you please explain how you're going to evaluate Justin?
The purpose of this project is for Justin to introduce himself to the club and to learn the basic structure of a public speech. Mr. Toastmaster?
All right, thank you, Karen. So let's welcome our first speaker of the night, Justin Faust, with Toastmaster to Scrum Master, Toastmaster to Scrum Master, Justin Faust.
Okay, thank you, Toastmaster Dugan. I appreciate that. So let me introduce myself. I am Justin Faust. I am currently a software QA engineer. A fun fact about me, I've actually been to China, Beijing, China, and I speak a bit of Mandarin. So let me get into my background now. I was born in Kansas. I moved to Dallas about 10 years ago, and I've been in between Dallas and Houston ever since. In high school, I was very active. I was a bit of a shy child, but I was very active. I was played football, wrestling, and track. I also was in honors courses and in band and jazz band. So I continue my being very active in in college. I was in student government, I was in Phi Theta Kappa, I was in the Economic Society, and I was also a part of some student clubs that play sports. So I've always tried to take on leadership roles and be very active. And as a QA engineer, I like my role a lot, but I wanted to continue my education and advance my career. So I got two certifications, two IT certifications. So I became a certified Scrum Master and a certified product owner, which they both work in Agile in Scrum. So while doing that, I've been on several interviews, and though I may have the technical know-how and the technical skill set to do the job, I found myself not communicating very effectively or efficiently in the interview process. So I thought to myself, how can I become a better communicator? How can I advance my career further? And I've known about Toastmasters for, I'm not sure how long, like roughly a year or two. I've actually been a part of a Toastmaster group in Plano a year ago before the pandemic, but I didn't join. I was pretty busy. Then I thought, you know what? This could really help out my skill set, not just knowing the technical know-how, but communicating more effectively. And when I get my leadership role, I can communicate more effectively and efficiently being a leader. So my current goals for Toastmasters or being a part of Toastmasters is to be a better interviewer, to interview more, just have like more of a, I'm not sure, translucent or more of a, can just communicate better in the moment. Be a better communicator in my leadership role, communicating exactly what I want to my team and my team members. Continuing networking. I know Toastmasters is fantastic for networking. It's a lot of people join Toastmasters, which have great network opportunities. They're leaders in their own roles. They're trying to advance their careers and advance their overall communication. And my fourth goal is to become a better communicator overall. So to conclude, I joined Toastmasters to help advance my career, to help me with my interview process, and to also help me become a better communicator overall, and finally, to network with like-minded people. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Justin. All right, so our next speaker is Dalen Graves, and evaluating Dalen is John Vessel. So John, can you explain how you're gonna be evaluating Dalen?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm evaluating Dylan Graves tonight, and his is also an icebreaker. So as we know, an icebreaker gives them the first speech the chance to introduce themselves to us and demonstrate to us what speaking skills they have and what they might need to work on, etc. So without further ado, his title is Becoming Who I Am Today. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, John. All right, so let's welcome Dalen with Becoming Who I Am Today, Dalen Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, to Dagan Nguyen, and to all the members and guests that are here with us today. This is my second official week with the club and first official meeting, so I wanted to thank you all for welcoming me here, and I'm excited to learn from you all and learn more about myself. My name is Dylan Graves. I'm 24 years old and have recently been welcomed into corporate America within the past 2 years, where I'm currently training to become a sales leader within my company. So as you can guess, that's one of the reasons why I decided to join Toastmasters. That being said, I wanted to talk a little bit about who I am and where I came from and where I want to go in my life. So a little bit about myself. I love spending time with family and friends, doing anything outdoors, anything sports related, watching sports, any of that nature. I'm always eager to learn something new. Recently, I've been into self-help books and anything financial related. So if you guys have any recommendations, send those my way. And always just try to keep a positive attitudes towards people and any tasks that I'm doing in my life. So my reason for joining Toastmasters, throughout college, I was always shy and anxious about giving speeches and presentations, just as most people are. And so I wanted to focus on this weakness once I got to corporate America, and here I am. So I was pleasantly surprised to find out that my company offered a program called Gain. And within that program, you have the opportunity to go through Toastmasters. So that is one of the reasons why I'm here, and I'm excited to become a more powerful speaker and leader within that program. So a couple goals, like I said, I want to become more powerful speaker. I'd like to just overcome that anxiety feeling that you get from public speaking, network with fellow club members, just as Justin mentioned as well, and just learn more about myself and other members of the group. So now that you know a little bit about my background and goals, I wanted to share with you how I got to the position that I'm in today. I grew up in McKinney, Texas. For those of you who don't know, it's just about 30 miles north of Dallas. So I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school there. And then it was time to go to college. So I decided to go to the University of Oklahoma. I got a 4-year degree in supply chain management, bachelor's degree. If I wasn't studying or hanging out with friends, you could catch me at a football game or baseball game, basketball game, pretty much any sporting event that was going on, I was probably there. Other than sports and studying, I was a member of a couple clubs. And as my senior year came around, it was time to find a job. So as most universities do, they have career fairs. And I ended up going into the career fair and talking to bunch of different companies, and ended up finding a company called Rexel, which is the company I work for today. Rexel is a electrical distribution company, and I was hired on into a sales training program, 2-year sales training program, where you spend about 3 to 6 months within different roles in the company. So maybe 3 months in marketing, 3 months in sales, 3 months in IT, you name it. And at the end of the program, you kind of figure out where you want to go within the company. So it's been about 18 months now. I kind of have an idea of where I want to go. I think I want to go the sales route. So I have a couple of goals following this program that I'm in. First, I'd obviously like to graduate from the program and go into an outside sales role and become a trusted leader within the company. I'd like to grow my network within the company through coworkers, and then also outside the company, whether that be with customers, vendors, you name it. And then I'd also like to reach my sales goals and just grow my customer base over time. So those are a few goals that I'd love to achieve throughout my career. And I know that was quite a bit about me, and I hope it helps y'all to get an understanding of who I am and where I want to go in my life. So thank you all for your time, and I look forward to improving and growing within this group.
All right, thank you, Dylan. All right, so we had 2 awesome speeches from 2 brand new members. So that was really awesome. So remember, both these speakers will get a formal evaluation later in the meeting. But if anybody has any feedback as well, you can always send them a private message through the chat. So now we will call upon a timer's report. Timer, did both speakers qualify on time?
Mr. Toastmaster, both speakers qualified on time.
All
Justin
right.
finished at 4:26 and Dylan finished at 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
All right, outstanding. So now please take the moment to vote for who you thought had the best speech tonight between Justin and Dylan. And remember again to send those to a private chat to Tanya Howard. So send your votes to Tanya Howard in the private chat, and she'll take care of that. And also remember, again, like I said, if you have any feedback to either one of them, send them a private chat as well.
Are we allowed to vote or not? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, you can vote.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's allowed to vote except for the vote counter. All right, so we'll move on into a few more quotes here that I liked. It says, focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Focus on your character and not your reputation. Focus on your blessings, not your misfortunes. So basically that's what it's saying, don't focus on anything negative, focus on positive. We focus on negativity, it just gets you down, but when you think about positive thoughts that, uplifts you, at least it does for me. And I hope it does it for y'all too as well. Focus on your goals, not your fear. Because, if you have fear of something, you have to try to get over that fear with some positivity. And once you get over that fear of something and be positive about it, you can go on and move forward and do whatever it is that you wanted to do. And of course, always, stay strong, stay positive, and never give up. So I like to say is just think about yourself. When you hear negativity, somebody gives negativity to you. Doesn't it bring you down? I mean, it does me. There's a difference between negativity and criticism, I guess to say, in situations. So if somebody's trying to give you negativity versus criticism, that can bring you down. But criticism, if you do it in a positive way, that can be uplifting as well, because you're getting feedback, but it's in a positive way. It's kind of like what we do here in Toastmasters. During our evaluation section, we're giving positive feedback, and so, some of this is things that that the evaluator thinks that we could do a better improvement on, but we do that in a positive way. So just think about that, out there in your life, just think about, somebody you meet, just stay positive. If you see somebody's down, give them tell them something positive, uplift their spirits. Like I say, you never know what somebody's going through in their life. And just by saying one positive thing could turn that around. All right, so we're going to move on into our table topic section of the meeting. And that is going to be run by our president, Mark Sims. So let's welcome Mark Sims. Take it away.
Thank you, Dagan. And this table topics portion of the meeting is a chance for us to develop and enhance our skills at speaking off the cuff. Comes in very handy in whatever type of work, whatever type of activities that you are in. And I will be asking various questions along the lines of tonight's theme about positivity. Now, one thing I want to do, since I was making a list of some of the most likely people to ask, Lee, are you general evaluator tonight?
Yes.
Okay, I was thought by the process of elimination you would have to be. Okay, then I'll keep that in mind. I'll try and ask some folks that aren't speaking quite as much. And one thing I want to note, or at least clarify, we better be positive, because in Dagan's background, I swear that looks like human skulls in those glass cases. And so he means it, be positive, or you may end up in that same predicament. And one note for Dylan, he made reference to like a familiar dread when you may have to speak in public. And earlier in the week, on the 17th, on Monday morning, I gave a presentation at work. Of course, it was on Microsoft Teams. It was not in person. There's going to be about maybe 20 people in it. And so I started to feel that familiar dread, but I stayed positive, worked just as hard as I could, and it came out quite well. So there is something to that. And please, everyone, remember you have to speak for a minimum of 1 minute, and the maximum time is 2 minutes plus a 30-second grace period. And then you need to use the word of the day that Cheryl provided for us. Eudaimonic. It almost sounds like you demand, but eudaimonic, and again, pertaining to happiness. So please use that word. And the first person I will call on will receive this question. Is being positive, positivity, is that hardwired into us, or can that be learned? Mark Schroeder.
Is it hardwired in or is it learned? I think that it's actually learned more than anything else, if I had to pick it. It's one of those things that it depends upon, I think, how things worked out for you growing up, for instance. I ended up being an introvert, but then again, I looked at all of the early home movies that my parents had shot from age, 4 to age 8, whatever. And I had heard countless stories of how I would go up to strangers in supermarkets and whatever and tell them hi and stuff like that, which I never did after a certain age. So a lot of people would say, well, you were always an introvert, but I don't necessarily think that was true. I think a lot of what happens, we really are tabula rasas or blank slates, and we learn a lot of these things. So whether or not you are naturally an up person, or whether or not you have things that just haunt you and you have to say, you demonic thing, get out of there. Sorry, I could not resist. Yeah, I see everybody going, oh my God. That's my goal. Thank you so much. I really do believe that what ends up happening is just very, very different for every person. And on a day-to-day basis, depending upon what you're subjected to, you can go from being very outgoing and very happy to being very depressed and not at all prone to looking on the bright side of things. So good luck. It is also how you take it, because a lot of people can take very bad things. And, it's when you get lemons make lemonade. They're still happy and it washes off of them. Some people are just not like that. But I do think you have certain control over it, but you also have to respond to whatever is in your environment. That would be my answer, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mark. This next question, again, deals with positivity. And we want to be known as a positive person. No one really wants to be known as a negative person. But I'd like to ask, is a positive attitude always a virtue? And for that, I'd like to ask Munish Gupta.
Can you please repeat the question again?
Is a positive attitude always a virtue?
Good morning, everybody. Is positive attitude always a virtue? It is not always a virtue. I live in a country where our business is dependent on bureaucracy, politicians, police officers. They can create nuisance for us anytime. They can make us jobless anytime. That time I can't have positive attitude because I can't do anything. I'm helpless. These things I read in books, I listen. I don't live in a developed country where people can think about that they should remain positive, because in those countries like Australia, UK, America, nobody harasses you. If somebody harasses you, you can sue them. They are accountable. Here, there is nobody's accountable. And when we face that problem, that time we forget about that what we are positive, negative. The reason is we want to survive. We need 2 meals a day. We need home. We need all the facilities of living. But when we are not getting, they make us jobless. They create a trouble for us. That time, we can't think. We talk only those things about positive, negative, that we should laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. Have a smile on your face. When we are not facing any problem. When the problem arises like this, when you become jobless, that time it's not possible to become positive. Your kids are crying in front of you that they need 2 meals and you do not have money to go to the grocery shop to buy the things for them. You can't say, kids, stay positive. Thank you. Over to the Toastmaster, please.
Thank you, Manish. Appreciate that. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
This next question is, and I mean, take into account, we deal with positive people, we deal with negative people, and there's probably someone in your life that is simply a great example because he or she is so positive. And Tanya Howard, please tell us the most positive person you know.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics. The most positive person that I know is my friend Kim. She is always pouring back into other people, and really she has that eudaimonic spirit about her that she just really wants to be supportive and really tries to encourage everyone to do their best. Or if you're feeling down and sad, then she is there to lift you up and really help you to get in a better place. And she really spends a lot of time just complimenting her friends and the things that they do. And she always has an encouraging word. And she is always very happy when she gets to talk to you or see you. Just a very encouraging person. And I think that is probably one of the reasons why she's such a good friend to me, because I really appreciate her positive spirit, and I try to learn and grow from that as well, and to try to put that out in the atmosphere myself. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Tanya. And this next question is, since of course we know positive people, we know some negative people. So I'd like to ask Cheryl Swagel how she handles negative people. And Cheryl, I'll be listening for any ahs or if you use the word of the day. So Cheryl Swagel.
The question is, do I know any negative? Oh, how do I deal with negative people? Correct?
Yes.
You know what? I'm real funny. I think I'm real funny. I don't know if everybody thinks I'm real funny. So usually if they're negative, I try to joke around or be funny or throw something back at them and, you know, just kind of mirror it back so that they're not negative anymore. And sometimes I will mirror what they're doing so that they can see that I'm negative, but I'm being just like they are. And so hopefully they'll turn it around and stop being negative. I try not to be around negative people though, if I can help it. I mean, I know you can't help it when you're at work, but friends wise, I don't have negative friends. Family, I got a few negative family. I try to limit my time with them as well. So I would say mostly I use humor to diffuse any negativity. And I did not use the word of the day. Too late. Can't do it now. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Cheryl. And that's a very good idea to just remove yourself from those situations. And I never thought about mirroring the behavior, but sometimes if you see people acting the way you act at times and someone says, hey, that's like you, then it's an eye opener. A good idea. And the final question is, I'd like to hear your view of the future, if it's a positive or negative one. And for that, I'd like to hear from Rob Giles.
Can somebody time for me, please?
Yes, I can time it, Rob.
Thank you very much. Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, I look at the future and many times I see a lot of bleakness. I see that it might not be so eudaimonic, but then I think a little bit more and I think about the past and what we've gone through as a world, as a country, as individuals, especially this past year. And I think if any species can get through this, we can do it and we can end up on the positive side. And all the things that help me to believe that we can do that are things that I've seen in the past where eventually we come together. We find common ground on political beliefs, on religious beliefs. We understand and we accept that we're not all alike, but we are all human. And I think that those are the times that really bring it home for me. The biggest one that always comes to mind for me is 9/11. And that one, I think, because I was going through a traumatic time during my life. And when I was doing that, it was forcing me to kind of reassess or restart my life. And when 9/11 happened, I thought how devastating all those things were for so many people. I wasn't directly involved. All the things that I've been going through were nothing. But eventually, those people came to push through. So many people came together to help, and there was positivity on the other side. And I think that that's where we are headed. So that's what I think about our future. There's some positive things coming down the road. Back to you, Mr. Topic Master.
Thank you, Rob. I would like to ask Cheryl Slagle, aside from her, who else used or did not use the word of the day? Muted, Cheryl.
That was so hard. The only person that did use the word of the day is Mark Schroeder and Rob Giles.
Well, sort of.
Unless I missed something. Did I? I don't think so.
I thought I used it.
Did you?
Yeah, Tanya.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
you did, Tanya? I'm so sorry. I missed it.
It was quick.
Okay.
And I'd like to hear from Rob about who qualified time-wise.
Mr. Topic Master, everybody qualified on time. I can give privately, if you want your exact time, just shoot me a private message and I'll let you know, but everybody qualified on time.
Excellent. In that case, please vote for one of these three table topics contestants who both qualified on time and used the word of the day. You can vote for either Mark Schroeder, who discussed if positivity was learned or hardwired. You can vote for Tanya Howard, who told us about the most positive person she knew, or you can also vote for Rob Giles, who discussed his view of the future. And please send those votes to Tanya Howard. And while we are all doing that, and I'm about to send my vote to Tanya, I would like to first see if Dagan has any final remarks. As Toastmaster, he does not. So please help me welcome our general evaluator, Lee King.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. This is the evaluation portion. of the meeting in which we learn what we did well and what we can work on in the future. And from the very start of this session, I would like to have each of our speech evaluators evaluate our speakers for this evening. With that said, if John Vessels, you could please give us your evaluation of Justin.
No, Karen is evaluating Justin. I'm evaluating Dylan.
Yep, sorry, the agenda has those backwards.
Oh, okay. In that case, Karen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, and especially Justin and our honored guest. And Justin, I'm going to use the 3-2-1 method to evaluate your speech. I'm going to give you 3 things I thought you did well, a couple of things to improve on, and one thing that I thought you did most exceptional. Wow, you used so much material in your speech that you had to cover. I thought the material engaged the audience and interested the audience. You gave us a lot of background information about you in your speech. Justin, you also used very good eye contact during your speech when you looked at the camera and engaged with the audience. Your spoken language was very easily understood in your speech. Now, a couple things I thought you could work on. I couldn't see a lot of physical gestures. Now, this could be because of Zoom, and a lot of the camera was mainly on your head during the prepared speech. You might also want to consider varying the tone of your voice, like loud and soft, and the rate of your speech, fast, slow. One thing especially that I thought you did very well in your speech was that you gave us a very well organized and well-constructed speech. You had your introduction, you gave us your 4 points, and you also gave us your conclusion. So, in conclusion, you had very engaging content, you used very good eye contact, and your language is very easy to understand. You could consider varying the tone and the rate of your speech, as well as your physical gestures. And you also gave us a very organized speech. Thank you. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Karen. Now, John Vessels, if you could evaluate Daylon's speech.
Thank you, Mr. GE. Dylan's speech too was an icebreaker, and as it was titled, Becoming Who I Am Today. And I think he met his title successfully. He had a very strong opening. He explained what he was looking for, what his current life is. Then he moved on into covering some other points, explaining his history, where he grew up. So he's pretty much local. McKinney is local. It's part of the Metroplex now. So he also presented us with, like I said, a brief history of his life story from McKinney, what he liked to do then, to college, and where college has taken him now, and how he has gotten into the career he is in now. Just Dylan seems really goal oriented, and he's got his plans. He's got things planned out for what he wants to do and how he wants to succeed at his company. I think some of the things that you are working on, or that you want to work on, is the same thing as Justin's there. Some vocal variety. You need to relax a little bit, take a little pause now and then, not a long one, but just Just don't race through it. I mean, it wasn't too fast or anything, but still do something like that. Another thing is that your vocal variety, just change the pitch every once in a while, change the speed of which you talk or when you present your sentence or something, so that it doesn't get monotone. But you presented really good, even though you're on Zoom. I think that you really seemed like you were paying attention to the audience, like you were watching us like we were in real life. And I think that was very good too. You wrapped up your speech with your closing that you kind of reiterated what your goals were and how you would want to succeed at them, and how that you're hoping that Toastmasters will give you some of those skill sets that you'd like to have. So all in all, I think you did a really good speech. I think you've got some talent going on right now. And with some more practice and some more speeches and stuff, you'll learn to relax and get a much more interesting speech tone. Not that you're not great now, but we all learn and we all get better. And I know that you will. Back to you, Mr. GE.
Thank you. At this point, I'll call for Tommy's report. Rob, did our speaker evaluators qualify on time?
Mr. General Evaluator, both evaluators qualified on time. Karen Lee at 2 minutes and 36 seconds. John Vessels at 2 minutes and 43 seconds.
All right, this time, please vote for the better of the two evaluators for this evening between John Vessels and Karen Lee. Send your vote privately to Tanya. At this time, I will now give an evaluation of the meeting as a whole and then call on the duty holders. Overall, the meeting moved very smoothly. We had a few last minute changes, but those were dealt with quickly, and it did not delay our start time. Everything was ready to go on time. That said, there was a lot of sidebar conversation that delayed the meeting getting started. So I think that it is important that we be a little more diligent at watching our time and starting on time. We're very familiar with Zoom at this point, although this is, I guess, one of our last weeks doing Zoom before we go to in person, but still try to start the meeting on time and end it on time, I think is important. Theme of the day was really good. Everybody had something to contribute, which I also think is important. So overall, really good meeting. If I could please have Cheryl share with us her grammarian report and all counters report.
Yes, I don't have anything for the grammarian report. For the report, Dagon, you had quite a few you knows, which I know you know. One and one But there's something endearing about your you knows. I don't know if I just haven't known you very long, but they are not distracting for me. I think they're part of your personality, so I like them. I know that's not the general Toastmaster way, but Justin, you had 3 uhs and 9 ums, but they were mostly at the beginning. I think you were just a little bit nervous, and then it was pretty much smooth sailing after that. Dylan, you did not have any filler words, none. I didn't hear any. So good job on that. And that's all I have. Back to you.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Cheryl Slagle had one in the interest of full disclosure.
Okay.
I didn't want her to have to listen to herself.
All right. If we could please have a posture monitors report from Mark Schroeder.
Certainly, thank you, Lee. Going to do these mostly in order of appearance, as they say in the movies, except, of course, I'm going to delay one in particular toward the end. So let me start with you, Dagan. Nice use of hands throughout. You, for the most part, had your hands visible, at least near the bottom of the screen, and we could always tell what you were doing with them. For the entirety that you were on screen, looked really, really good. So let's see, what did I write down there? That's interesting. Oh, okay, so that was for the second. So let's see, we didn't have a whole lot of posture tonight just because we're on Zoom, the usual issue with that. John Vessel's, one other thing that I noticed about yours, not so much during the first time that you were on, but the second time that you were on, you obviously for the evaluation have your notes off to the side to what appears to be your right, camera left, unless you've got it reversed on us. And the thing that's interesting is you would clearly seem to glance over at it very quickly and then you'd come back. So you were doing side glances, but you were addressing the camera most of the time, which is exactly what you want to do. I don't know whether I would put it maybe a little bit less distracting at a slightly less obtuse angle, but a little more of an acute angle so that you don't have to look quite so far off. But other than that, the fact that you come back and spent 90+% of the time with us, it was not all that distracting. So that was good. Both of our new speakers, Dylan and Justin, let's put it this way. Gestures are not the most important thing to concentrate on that first speech. The first speech, the most important thing to concentrate on is getting through it without dying. We all know that. We've all been there. Something to work on for the future. And you're going to get a lot more opportunities to do gestures as we get, especially as we get back toward in-person at Ozona's. So much more difficult to do here than it is going to be at Ozona's, that's for sure. Let's see. Munish, you had a couple of chances to use gestures and I thought so did very well as well. Karen Lee, the one that I noticed in particular was one that is very, very close to the sign language for past. You did like this. The only difference, you use the thumb for past and it would be this if with the open palm, but that it's back there. That's kind of the overall gesture. It's always been an effective one. It's obviously effective enough that it's been used for American Sign Language. So kudos there. And finally, the person who excelled the most in gesture tonight, as usual, Rob Giles. So let me go just through a couple of the things that I noticed. First of all, I have to admit, when you're going to do the, here's the card that we're doing, the only thing that came to mind as he was doing that, quite frankly, was here's Johnny with none other than Jack Nicholson, of course, from The Shining. It really left that kind of an impression. So just be careful. That was really close up and it was really kind of creepy. Other than that, pretty effective. It certainly got my attention. There's absolutely no question about that. But it did bring up one other thing that I'm going to talk about as I get done. You had your hands up throughout. All of the time your hands are on. And even when the hands are disappearing because of the Zoom background and everything, still very expressive. And we know where your hands are, what your hands are trying to express. Let's see. I also noticed you had some relationships to the past as well. And one other thing that we do in Toastmasters is making a point. You did it exactly right. You're able to make points. Don't point at people. In a group, people do not like being pointed at, regardless of what, you can't just can't do it. It's recommended that you don't point at individuals, but it is okay to make a point. It is okay to do a generic one finger point in any particular area. I also noticed you were doing the basketball and you also did it with palms in as you were trying to bring things into yourself. Thought all of those were very effective. And in the process of this, and especially in the process of the Jack Nicholson thing, one of the things that we can still do in Toastmasters, and you're going to see it a lot more on the stage, when you are trying to make a point, one of the things that you can do is you can actually get closer and approach the camera to make your point. And when you're not trying to make the point, you can sit back a little bit and relax. In terms of what you're going to be doing in Ozona's, that's going to be walking toward the front of the stage versus walking back. If you were trying to make a point, walk closer to the audience, make your point, and then you can take a step back again and start talking toward your next point. Those are kind of things that you'll be able to do as we get toward a stage. And we're so used to doing that on a stage. I have to admit, we haven't even thought of doing that perhaps here in the Zoom, but think about movies. That's one of the things they do in movies. Have you ever seen in a movie where the background just sort of fades a little bit and you see the person start coming in because they're trying to get to a point? They're doing the same sort of effect. Works in Zoom as well. So feel free to use that for the remaining weeks that we have here. And certainly remember to use it when we get to the stage. That's going to conclude my remarks as Posture Bill for tonight. Lee.
Thank you, Mark. At this time, I will call for a final vote for this evening. Please send a private message to Tanya Howard on who you thought did the best between our Toastmaster for this evening, our table topics master for this evening, and then myself as general evaluator. So that would be Dagan as Toastmaster, Mark Sims as Table Topics Master, and myself as GE. I will now turn the meeting over to Mark Sims, our president. Mark.
Thank you, Lee. And one slight amendment to what Mark Schroeder said. If I'm ever in a group and any one of y'all are charged with handing out $1 million, but you have to point at the recipient, go for it. I'll put aside my ego on that occasion. Otherwise, that's excellent advice. One is can be rude. One thing we want to do tonight is vote on a new member, on Dylan Graves. Okay, we've not voted on Justin yet. Mark, Rob?
I thought we did.
Did we already do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we
So
voted
we
on
did,
Justin. We did Justin.
Yeah.
Okay. I've actually got the breakout room set so I can move him in there.
Okay, yes, and I'll explain for Dylan's benefit that we go through the process, having a formal vote. Now, if about 30 minutes has passed and we haven't contacted you and we're having knockdown dragouts, that may be a problem, but I don't anticipate it. So would you, Mr. Zoom Master, would you please escort Dylan to a breakout room? That was a joke,
Well,
by the way, Dylan.
You want to tell them why we do the vote? Because back.
He's already gone.
moved.
Yeah.
He's already gone. I'll tell him.
Because it's a democracy.
I make a motion that we allow Dylan Graves to be a member of Dallas Social Toastmasters.
I second.
See several seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Let's see, seeing no nays, then Dylan Graves is approved as a new member of Dallas Social Toastmasters. So please bring him back.
I may have to do that because Rob may not know that we're done. He's now in that room.
I think he went out there to the same breakout room.
I can bring him back though. I do have the ability to bring him back.
I think he's explaining why we did the vote. That's why he went over there. Yourself, Kenny.
I apologize. It's going to take 57 seconds because unfortunately it has a default of 60 that was not changed when the room was created.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Dylan is back. Okay, they're both
Rob's
back.
I think we're all back now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Yay, Dylan.
Hey.
Yes, and thank you again for joining us, Dylan. We want to be a club that supports you and helps you to achieve your goals. And let's see, since we have a new member, what we will do next is want to remind everyone that June 3rd, we start back meeting in person at Zona's. So that will not be the next meeting, but it will be the meeting after that. So obviously we will issue reminders at next week's meeting. And I'm pretty sure on this, but Mark Schroeder's is Zona's aware and good with us being back.
Ozonas is aware. Ozonas is ready to welcome us back. Absolutely.
Excellent. And
oh, just to mention it also, I didn't really know what to set their expectations for, just so that you are aware as president. I said we probably have somewhere between 8 and 15, and I really, until the first week happens, could not predict any better than that. So that was the expectation setting that I gave them.
yeah, definitely, because sometimes it is hard to tell. What I'm thinking we can do is, first of all, see what other news there is to bring up. then get the winners, and then reserve the finalization of the officer slate for anyone and everyone that wants to remain. And just as a preamble to that, we frankly usually end up coming up with a slate of proposed officers simply because we need to fill out a team. But every one of you is welcome to run for one of the officers' positions that is open. And you are encouraged to serve as an officer if you haven't had the opportunity. So we're going to go in a few minutes through the process of coming up with a slate. But if there is going to be competition for one of the offices, great. I mean, that would be terrific to have a couple of people very interested in that. We had definitely arranged for an election. But
Just a point of, I guess, maybe a point of order. So I think we had tentatively talked about doing the vote next week. In the event that we actually have an election, do we want to move those elected to office, the election to June the 3rd? If we've actually got multiple candidates for running for one position over the other.
I would say we can come up with the slate or the candidates tonight and vote next week.
I think we
Personally,
can
I would recommend next week, just because we are, if we lose anybody going into June 3rd because they don't feel comfortable, they would be able to vote next week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
There is that issue.
continuity.
Well, we may have more vote. We will probably have more votes if we take it next week.
Before we go to the winners of the competitions tonight, what other business is there to bring up?
I was wondering if perhaps our officers could stay for just one topic after we're done here. If you can, I would be grateful. I just have one topic I want to bring up among you.
Okay.
I just want to know why Justin's on the other side of my bridge.
That's true.
That's a good one.
At this point, I'd like to ask our vote counter, Tanya Howard, to disclose the winners to us for tonight.
Yes, sir. For best speech tonight, it goes to Dylan. The best table topics, Mark. Congratulations. The best evaluator, John Vessels. And the best of the big three, Dagan. Congratulations.
And congratulations to all of our winners.
Hey, just before we go, I think it would be good if we just, take a moment to thank Manoush for all of his contributions. It's not able to make it next week. This may be our last opportunity to see him, since we will not be doing hybrid for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, thanks, Manish.
Yep,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you for always attending.
Take care of yourself.
Yes.
Thanks.
And come on over to America anytime you want, Manish. We come to Dallas, Texas, to Ozona's Grill and
I would love-
Bar.
You may not be from Texas, but Texas wants you anyway.
Right.
And I thought the drive from Plano was a pain in the neck.
Yeah, you get really expensive too. And with that, we can head on into determining who the candidates are for the election. And the reason I wanted to put it now is that if there is someone who doesn't have a strong preference and is not going to be a candidate and simply needs to get away, you're welcome. But everyone that has any interest whatsoever, please do stay around. Again, we usually develop a slate. We absolutely don't have to. We can't have competitions.
Good night.
And
Hi, Tanya.
Good night,
Good to see you.
Tanya.
good to see you. Take care. And for starters, for president, I've seen that Lee, you had indicated you'd be willing to be president. either that or VPM. Does anyone else have an interest in being president? And I think Joe Biden already has a full-time job as president, so he may not be able to make it at our meetings, and I'm searching. And I would think that if during the course of the week, I guess if you changed your mind and wanted to be a candidate, then we could address that on the next meeting. But right now, I am not seeing anyone else. And Lee King, I think you know a little bit about Toastmasters anyhow, so you might be qualified to be president.
All right.
And I say that because Lee was a president when I first joined the club. And all right, so does that meet with your approval, Lee?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. And therefore, we have a need for vice president of membership. And are there any applicants for that position?
I would say if anybody wants to take the VP of Education, then I would be happy to move into the membership, but I'm happy to stay on as VP of Education.
Lee, would you please remind us what you do as VP of membership?
Well, with the pandemic, it's been really hard, but
Yeah.
when we go back to in-person meetings, mainly it will be to try to approach the new guests, talk to them, and then just make sure that we've got the guest packets ready to go and everything. This term, obviously, it's been a lot of with Mark Schroeder getting the contacts and just kind of inviting them, giving them the link into the meetings. It's been a little bit different, but in person, just meeting the guests and talking to them about Toastmasters and doing the guest packet.
Okay. And I'll tell you, well, one technical question, do we have back at Azona's, or when we left, did we have guest packets there?
I have no idea. And I would
Yeah,
even eventually guess if they're there or not now.
Yeah, I mean, if
I don't
everything
know,
that
but
we have
do
is
have
there.
we do have all the online stuff now. Everything is online as
Yeah,
well.
that's true too. But I believe we have some physical packets as well left
Okay.
over. Yeah.
I could give VP of membership a try because I actually have a couple of ideas on that subject.
Excellent.
Go for it.
And for VP of Education, Rob, you've done an off the charts job on that this last year. I mean, no, you seriously.
Are you saying that it was undocumented?
It was documented very well. It was just excellent. Would that meet with your approval to remain as VP?
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. I would be honored.
Okay. And Mr. Schroeder, would you like to remain as VP of PR?
I would be happy to do so.
Please say yes. And congratulations again for the approbation that you received. It's
Yes, and thank you to
incredibly well deserved.
and a big thanks to Rob Giles for submitting me.
Excellent decision on. And for treasurer, I think you indicated this, but Dagan, are you still good?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. I had earlier said I'd be willing to be sergeant at arms. I mean, I guess VPM would probably be better, but does anyone else have an interest in being a sergeant at arms, which may return to being a little work again since we'll be meeting in person?
Mark, do you want to go over that just quickly, or do you want me to go over it?
Yes, from my recollection on sergeant at arms at Azona's, you climb up the stairs and bring down the box of supplies, and then you set up the room. You distribute the ballots, you put up the flag, and thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for the
Good night,
speeches
Justin.
too.
Thank you.
I have to as well. Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Take
Thank
care,
you, Dylan.
Dylan. We'll see you next
Appreciate
week.
it.
Good night, Dylan.
So you
And,
just
and we hope, by
distribute-
the way, that box is still at ozone.
Well,
That's what we were
it
talking
isn't.
about.
Thinking.
I have in my room right now the temporary or the box that Rob had given me. So even if someone ran off with the old box, we have the small one there.
Yeah, it's one of those things I actually should have asked them when I was emailing them, and I thought about it way too late.
Our banner's there too, so
Yeah.
hopefully that's still there.
Well, that might not be the most dramatic thing to ask is, hey, have you got out or stolen our box of stuff? So that some strange people may take offense at that. And Dagan just asked, we need
Yeah, we don't actually.
recording right now.
We can stop that. I apologize
Oh.
as Zoom facilitator. I'm going to stop the recording